So I got asked the question, what's going to happen with my leased vehicle when I return it? And I said, you know what? This would be a phenomenal video topic. What I want to do in this video is give you a step-by-step overview of what takes place the moment after you return your leased vehicle and what the dealership is going to do with it after you drop it off. What is happening, guys? Ari here from Boston Automotive Consulting, and as always, this video is brought to you by SaveOnMyAuto.com. SaveOnMyAuto.com is a resource you can use so that you can shop around for the best possible deal. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing, because this whole channel is going to teach you everything you're going to need to know so that you can negotiate your best possible deal. Now, simply put, the moment that you drop off your vehicle, or say the moment that you're about to negotiate your new vehicle, say if you're staying loyal with that car company, the vehicle that you're about to trade in, depending on whether or not you're going to be returning it to the dealership and then leaving or trading it in for another vehicle, is going to dictate exactly how that dealership is going to handle your vehicle. In the case that, say I'm just returning my Honda to the Honda dealership and getting a Toyota, typically what takes place is a third-party inspection company will come in to take a look at that vehicle so that they can send you a bill for any excess wear and use, any damages, etc. They'll record the mileage as soon as you drop it off, and as far as you're concerned, if the car was dropped off in great condition, then you're all set. Nothing actually happens. From the dealer's perspective, they have usually about a week or two to decide, are we going to keep that car or are we going to give it up to, say, Honda Financial Services and have them take it to auction. Typically, what happens is when a dealership doesn't want a vehicle and they let Honda Financial Services know that, what they'll do is of course, at the manufacturer's expense, send that car to the auction, usually run by Manheim. Manheim is the largest auction chain in the United States. The dealership will then take that car to Manheim for Honda Financial Services to sell at auction. The reason why a dealership would choose not to take a leased vehicle, to sell for their inventory, is a few different things. Say if they've got a lot of that type of vehicle ready, say if it's like a white Honda Accord LX, they've got like 15 of them, all with like 36,000 miles, and that one had 50,000 with a Carfax report on it, they'll probably not want to include that in the pool of cars, send them all out, and keep the creme de la creme, if you will, of these lease returns. The idea is a lot of dealerships like to filter out the cars that they know they'll have a tougher time selling and keep the really, really good ones, or the one-off ones, the ones that they know they'll be able to not negotiate with you for, and send the ones they don't like to the auction. Now, most of the time, when they're sending it to the auction, third-party buyers usually line up to get these vehicles. And the reason why you'll notice, why aren't the mom-and-pop type dealerships, the used car lots, why don't they get as nice of cars as the dealership? It's usually because the dealership typically grabs whatever they can as soon as it's available, because it's getting dropped off to them, as opposed to going to the auction and buying it from there. Now, more importantly, what happens when the dealership decides, hey, we do want your car, they can handle it in two ways. The first way that they're really, really hoping to handle it is hoping that you are probably going to buy another car from them. This way they can do a couple different scenarios. The first of which is handle that car as a trade-in. The reason why they want to handle it like this is the possibility of maybe buying this car for less than they're going to buy it for at the auction, offer you a certain amount, tell you, yes, we'll take your car, and then play around with the numbers that way. The reason why a lot of dealerships will like to do this is, especially if you've got remaining payments or mile overage, they like to do this because they get to decide what they want to buy the car for from you. It doesn't give them any sort of headache to have to buy it from the auction. They can just buy it from you, decide what they want to pay you, and just be over with it. When they do this, and they can do this, what they're doing is sending a check to the bank that is leasing you the car, taking your car, and if there's any negative difference, all they're doing is rolling it over into the new lease. And if you're not getting a substantial discount on the new car, the reason being is probably because they're telling you that they're buying your lease out when in fact they're just taking money from one pocket, putting it into the other. That way they zero everything out. Now what typically happens is according to safety minimums, they've got to replace tires if it falls below 4/32 of an inch. For it to be certified, it's usually got to be at the very minimum 50% tread life. You know, they'll have bumpers repainted, they'll have tires changed out, but usually with leased vehicles that are getting turned in, because the manufacturer is also charging you for those damages, the dealership is also going to be recuperated for those damages because they're the ones that are going to be fixing it. So the reason why it makes a whole lot more sense to always negotiate these damages is because the dealership is going to get compensated, or they're going to pay literally nothing to repair these damages in the first place. That's why when I say, more importantly, if you're going to be trading in or turning in a leased vehicle to the dealership to get another one, it's very, very important that, okay, you've got a leased vehicle and it's got to be returned in a specific way. However, most of the time, most leased vehicles, if they're decent enough, they're going to get sold on that dealership's lot anyway. So the idea behind it is that the dealership fixes these cars, gets replacement parts, etc., for a lot less of a cost than you, and they're paying their employees on an hourly rate to change these parts, to paint, etc. So the idea behind turning in a leased car for another one is to negotiate any sort of excess wear and use, because these guys are buying the cars and getting recuperated for the damages anyway. The reconditioning costs are far less for the dealer than they are for you. So most of the time, if the dealership is not going to be selling the car on their lots, that is when you'll have the most trouble with a leased vehicle, especially if you were planning on buying another leased vehicle. Say, for instance, if that leased vehicle that you're turning in is undesirable to the dealership, for instance, if it has an accident report or it's just way over miles, etc., then you should know that this vehicle that you've got is likely to end up at an auction somewhere. If you've got a perfect vehicle, way under miles, it's very important for you to know that they're going to be robbing you by just accepting that lease return. And you should probably shop this vehicle's trade value by visiting multiple dealerships, by visiting CarMax, etc., to see if you can get more for your vehicle than just turning it in. The idea behind turning in a leased vehicle is you want to do that, but only if it doesn't even make sense to shop around the value for that leased vehicle. If your vehicle's perfect, if you've got a perfect lease return, and you know that dealership is going to love to sell that car after, then it's important to either negotiate any sort of extra discount on the new car you're buying, make it a really, really aggressive deal, or remove the lease turn-in altogether and take it to a third party to see if maybe there's money to be made on the trade-in somewhere else. I hope this opened up your eyes, guys, to the idea that your lease return is not just something that you're just going to drop off and doesn't have an additional component to it. If it's a desirable lease return, keep in mind the dealership is looking at how they can profit off of you turning it in a particular way. If it's an undesirable lease return, your leverage in a car deal typically goes down. As always, you guys, this video was brought to you by SaveOnMyAuto.com. SaveOnMyAuto.com is a resource you can use so that you can shop around for the best possible deal. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. Don't forget to visit SaveOnMyAuto.com, as well as the resources down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.